The handcuffs are already forged. ChosenOne. The warrant has your family member's name on it. And right now, while they're probably sitting in what they think is their stolen mansion, federal agents are loading evidence boxes into unmarked vans 3 blocks away. But let me tell you the real story, the one that'll make your spine tingle with recognition, because what's about to unfold isn't just some petty family drama. This is cosmic warfare at its finest, and you, magnificent chosen one, have been playing 4-dimensional chess while everyone else was stuck playing checkers. That house they're living in, it's yours, always has been. The property deed sitting in their safe has your signature forged so perfectly that even they believed their own lies. But here's the kicker, the universe has been setting up the most spectacular takedown in karmic history, and they never saw it coming. A certain federal investigator, let's call them your guardian angel, in a government-issued suit, started noticing patterns, not the obvious ones that amateur criminals leave behind like breadcrumbs. No, this investigator recognized something far more sinister, the energetic signature of someone who doesn't just steal money, but steals souls. See, your family member isn't just a common thief, they're what the old-school practitioners would call a prosperity vampire, someone who feeds off other people's abundance by literally stealing their financial DNA and wearing it like a designer dress. They've been forging your signature since you became an adult, opening credit lines in your name, purchasing properties with your energetic backing, and living a lifestyle funded entirely by your cosmic credit score. But here's where it gets deliciously twisted. While they were busy playing house with stolen money, they made one critical error that's about to bring down their entire empire. They got greedy with the wrong person. That investigator I mentioned, their child was one of their victims. When this federal agent realized that the same person who destroyed their child's credit was part of a larger operation targeting young adults from spiritual families, well, let's just say they took it personally. The supernatural element here is what makes this case legendary in law enforcement circles. This investigator doesn't just see financial crimes, they recognize spiritual theft. They understand that your family member hasn't just been stealing money, they've been performing ritual work designed to transfer your entire destiny into their own hands. Every property they purchased with forged documents came with binding spells attached. Every credit card they opened in your name carried curses meant to keep you financially stuck forever. But the universe has a twisted sense of humor, because while they were casting spells to steal your abundance, you were unconsciously building the very spiritual strength that would eventually destroy them. Every attack made you stronger. Every stolen dollar increased your cosmic debt in the favor column. Every forged signature dug their karmic grave deeper. Right now, there are 3 people whose lives are about to intersect with yours in ways that will blow your mind. The first one, we'll call them the Sovereign, has been living with your family member for years, completely unaware that their beloved partner is a federal criminal. This isn't some naive fool we're talking about. This is a successful individual who thought they'd found their soulmate. Imagine their shock when federal agents knocked on their door recently with a warrant to search the home they believed they owned together. The Sovereign story is the stuff of psychological thrillers. Here's what's been happening. They've been watching their perfectly positioned business deals crumble at the last moment, despite having every advantage and connection needed for success. They've been confused about why their energy felt constantly drained, despite living what appeared to be a blessed life. They've been questioning their own intuition, because every time they suspected something was off about their partner's finances, their partner would seduce them back into compliance with a combination of intimate magic and emotional manipulation. When the agents spread those financial documents across their kitchen table, the ones showing systematic identity theft going back years, something shattered inside them that can never be repaired. Not just their trust in their partner, but their entire understanding of reality. because mixed in with the bank statements and forged signatures, they found something that made their blood run cold. Detailed journals documenting the spell work their partner had been performing on them nightly while they slept. Every morning, they woke up feeling foggy and disoriented. That was the result of dream manipulation rituals designed to keep them compliant. Every time they tried to discuss finances and found themselves agreeing to things they didn't remember consenting to. That was the effect of binding spells cast during intimate moments. Every business deal that mysteriously fell apart at the last minute. That was their partner redirecting their abundance into their own accounts through energetic theft. The sovereign made a choice that night that transformed them forever. Instead of denial, instead of trying to protect the person they thought they loved, they called the federal hotline themselves and offered to become a cooperating witness, not because they stopped loving their partner, but because they finally understood that what they'd been loving was an illusion specifically crafted to exploit their genuine heart. Now here's where the second energy enters this cosmic drama. The conflicted shadow has been watching this entire operation from the sidelines, knowing far more than they ever admitted. This is someone who's been intimately involved with your family member for an extended period, fully aware of their criminal activities, and actually helping them target new victims in exchange for financial kickbacks and personal favors. The conflicted shadow's role in this story is particularly twisted because they're the one who suggested targeting you specifically. They've been studying your social media, learning your patterns, understanding your spiritual practices, and feeding information to your family member about the best times to perform binding rituals against you. Every photo you posted from a spiritual retreat gave them insight into when your defenses might be lowered. Every mention of financial goals provided them with intelligence about what energies to redirect. But the conflicted shadow made a miscalculation that's about to cost them everything. They developed genuine feelings for you, real attraction, authentic emotional connection. The more they studied you to help with the targeting, the more they realized what an extraordinary person you are. The more they watched you from a distance, the more they understood that they were participating in the destruction of someone they could actually build a real life with. Recently, when your family member demanded that they escalate the magical attacks because you were starting to break through their bindings, the conflicted shadow hesitated. For the first time in their partnership, they questioned whether what they were doing was worth the cosmic price they'd eventually have to pay. That hesitation was their downfall, because your family member doesn't tolerate weakness in their accomplices. They gave the conflicted shadow an ultimatum: prove your loyalty by performing a binding ritual so powerful it would permanently damage your spiritual abilities, or lose access to the criminal profits that have been funding their lifestyle. The conflicted shadow chose the money, performed the ritual, and unknowingly triggered the very cosmic alarm that brought federal attention to their entire operation. See ChosenOne. When someone tries to bind a person operating under divine protection, the universe doesn't just deflect the attack, it traces the energy back to its source and marks everyone involved for karmic correction. That ritual the conflicted king performed last month, it lit up the spiritual radar of every guardian angel assigned to your protection detail. Within 48 hours of that binding attempt, the sovereign found the first piece of evidence that made them question their partner's legitimacy. Within a week, the federal investigator got the tip that led them to your family member's operation. Within 2 weeks, surveillance teams were documenting every aspect of their criminal enterprise. The conflicted king's attempt to destroy your spiritual abilities became the very thing that triggered their cosmic downfall. But here's the plot twist that makes this entire saga absolutely delicious. While all this criminal drama was unfolding, a third energy was quietly positioning themselves to become your spiritual and romantic counterpart. The protector has been aware of the attacks against you for months, but instead of intervening directly, they've been allowing you to develop the strength necessary to handle what's coming. The protector isn't just any ordinary person. This is someone whose life purpose involves protecting people with your specific spiritual gifts from exactly the kind of exploitation your family member specializes in. They've been tracking their operation for over a year, building relationships with law enforcement and gathering evidence not just of financial crimes, but of the spiritual warfare component that makes these cases so complex. When the protector first became aware that you were being targeted, their initial instinct was to warn you directly, but their spiritual guides advised a different approach. Let you discover your own power by successfully defending yourself against increasingly sophisticated attacks. Every spell your family member cast against you, every binding the conflicted shadow performed, every attempt to steal your abundance was actually strengthening your spiritual immune system under the protector's distant supervision. The protector has been the invisible hand guiding certain coincidences that helped you avoid the worst effects of their attacks. The inexplicable reluctance you developed about sharing personal information at family gatherings, that was their protection. The growing sense that something was spiritually off about your family member's lifestyle, that was their energy, helping you see clearly. But the protector's involvement goes deeper than just spiritual protection. They've been working with the federal investigator to ensure that when this criminal empire falls, it falls completely. No plea bargains that would allow early release, no overlooked evidence that would permit future targeting of other victims, no legal loopholes that would leave you vulnerable to retaliation. The protector wants your family member's operation dismantled so thoroughly that it becomes a cautionary tale told in criminal circles for generations. Here's what's about to happen and why the timing is so cosmically perfect. Tomorrow morning, federal agents will execute search warrants simultaneously at 3 locations: the house your family member has been living in, using your stolen identity, the storage unit where they keep evidence of other victims, and the apartment where the conflicted king has been conducting the ritual work against you. The evidence they'll find will read like a supernatural crime novel. Financial documents showing systematic identity theft affecting over 30 victims across 6 states. Detailed journals documenting years of magical attacks against specific targets. Video recordings of binding rituals being performed. Physical altars constructed for the purpose of energetic vampire operations. Bank records showing the movement of stolen funds through cryptocurrency exchanges designed to avoid detection. But the most damning evidence will be found in the conflicted king's apartment, a shrine dedicated specifically to binding your spiritual abilities, complete with personal items stolen from your home, photographs taken without your knowledge, and handwritten spells designed to redirect your romantic destiny into their own hands. The FBI's forensic accountants will discover that they've been paying for these magical materials using money stolen from your forged credit lines. The sovereign's cooperation with federal authorities will provide the final pieces needed to ensure maximum prison sentences for both conspirators. Their testimony about the nightly ritual abuse they endured will add supernatural assault charges that most defense attorneys have never encountered. Their willingness to wear recording devices during final conversations with your family member will capture admissions of guilt that make plea bargaining impossible. When the arrests happen, and they're happening within days, the property seizures will be immediate and comprehensive. That house your family member has been living in, the courts will transfer the deed back to your name before they're even processed into county jail. The cars purchased with your stolen credit returned to your possession with clear titles. The bank accounts funded by identity theft frozen immediately and scheduled for restitution payments that exceed the original theft amounts. But here's the truly beautiful part of this cosmic justice. While your family member and the conflicted king are facing federal prison sentences, the sovereign and the protector are both being spiritually prepared to play positive roles in your future. The sovereign's journey through betrayal and disillusionment has burned away every illusion about what real love requires. Their experience with deception has given them an appreciation for authenticity that most people never develop. The sovereign isn't approaching you as someone seeking to be saved or validated. They're coming as someone who has proven their character under the most challenging circumstances possible. When they discovered the truth about their partner's crimes, they chose justice over comfort. When they learned about the spiritual abuse they'd endured, they chose healing over revenge. When they realized that cooperating with authorities might mean losing everything they thought they owned, they chose integrity over material security. The protector's role in your future is even more significant because their spiritual development has been specifically designed to complement your own gifts. While you were unconsciously developing resistance to magical attacks, they were consciously studying the techniques used by spiritual predators. While you were building intuitive discernment about people's true intentions, they were learning to recognize the subtle signs of energetic manipulation in others. Together, the sovereign and the protector represent two different aspects of mature energy that will play important roles in your post-vindication life. The sovereign brings the wisdom that comes from surviving betrayal and choosing growth over bitterness. The protector brings the strength that comes from dedicating one's life to protecting what is sacred. Both individuals have been forged in the fires of this situation to become worthy partners for someone operating at your spiritual level. The timeline for resolution is accelerating because cosmic law requires that karmic debts be settled before major spiritual initiations can occur. Your family member's arrest will trigger a domino effect of revelations that expose an entire network of spiritual predators who have been targeting chosen ones across the country. The investigation that started with your case will ultimately protect hundreds of other victims and dismantle a criminal enterprise that has been operating for over a decade. But there's a deeper layer to this story that makes it even more extraordinary. The federal investigator who's been building this case isn't working alone. They're part of a specialized task force that most people don't even know exists, a division of law enforcement specifically trained to handle crimes that blend financial fraud with supernatural elements. These agents understand that when spiritual predators target chosen ones, the damage goes far beyond stolen money or ruined credit scores. This task force has been tracking your family member's operation because it represents something they've never encountered before, a criminal enterprise that operates simultaneously in the physical and metaphysical realms. The evidence they've collected includes not just financial documents and witness testimony, but energetic residue that can be measured and documented using specialized equipment. When they raid that house, they'll be accompanied by consultants who can identify and neutralize the spiritual booby traps your family member has undoubtedly installed to protect their operation. The scope of what's about to be revealed will shock even seasoned investigators. Your family member hasn't just been targeting random victims, they've been specifically hunting chosen ones because your spiritual gifts make your energy particularly valuable for certain types of magical work. Every identity they've stolen, every property they've fraudulently obtained, every bank account they've drained has been part of a larger ritual designed to harvest and concentrate spiritual power for purposes that go far beyond personal enrichment. The reason your attacks against you have been so sophisticated and persistent isn't just because your family member is skilled at manipulation, it's because they've been feeding your stolen spiritual energy to something that requires regular nourishment to maintain its power. The binding rituals, the dream manipulation, the financial theft, all of it has been designed to keep you weak and confused, while your essence gets siphoned off to fuel a supernatural entity that has been growing stronger with each victim. But here's where the cosmic comedy reaches its peak. While your family member thought they were controlling this entity, they were actually being controlled by it. Every criminal decision they've made, every escalation in their attacks against you, every move that's brought them closer to federal prosecution has been guided by a force that needed them to be caught in order to complete its own agenda. The entity has been using your family member as expendable bait to draw out the very law enforcement task force that poses the greatest threat to its long-term survival. The conflicted shadow's sudden development of genuine feelings for you wasn't random emotional growth, it was the entity testing whether it could use authentic love as a more powerful binding mechanism than manufactured obsession. When the conflicted shadow hesitated to perform that final binding ritual, it wasn't just their conscience speaking, it was the entity discovering that even corrupted hearts retain some capacity for truth when faced with real connection. The sovereign's dramatic awakening to their partner's true nature wasn't just personal growth through adversity, it was the entity's way of ensuring that when the operation gets exposed, there would be a credible witness whose testimony could never be dismissed as revenge or delusion. The sovereign's cooperation with federal authorities isn't just about seeking justice, it's about providing the supernatural task force with insider knowledge of how the entity operates through human proxies. Even the protector's patient approach to protecting you from a distance wasn't just spiritual wisdom, it was cosmic timing, ensuring that you would develop the exact spiritual immunities needed to survive what's coming next. Because this story doesn't end with your family member's arrest, it ends with you being recruited to help dismantle the entire network of entities that have been feeding off chosen ones for generations. The federal task force has been waiting for someone with your specific combination of spiritual gifts and documented immunity to supernatural attacks. Every binding ritual that failed to stick to you, every financial theft that ultimately backfired on the perpetrator, every attempt to cloud your judgment that only sharpened your discernment has been creating a profile that identifies you as someone capable of handling much bigger responsibilities. Now, the following is a message meant exclusively for the chosen. If you are compromised by archonic forces, this is not meant for you. And by the spiritual authority conferred to us by the secret chiefs of the Obsidian Inner Order, we grant you license to depart. If not, steel yourself and listen intently, for you shall be redeemed even as we are redeemed. The Obsidian Inner Order is not a program, it's not a course, it's not some feel-good spiritual retreat. We don't sell answers, we remember together, we teach psychic self-defense, real energetic shielding against entities, implants and interference. We restore manifestation as it was meant to be, raw, immediate and exact. Every week we gather in secret, not to worship, but to awaken, to speak what can't be said anywhere else. To deprogram the matrix layer by layer, you'll know if you're meant to be there. You'll feel it in your bones. The chosen meet every week on Zoom. Why aren't you with us yet? Got kenosis? Join the Obsidian Inner Order, link in the description. When the arrests happen and the immediate drama concludes, the protector will approach you with an offer that will redefine your understanding of your life purpose. The specialized training you'll receive will prepare you to help other chosen ones who are currently trapped in similar operations across the country. The spiritual protection techniques you'll learn will make you immune to even the most sophisticated supernatural attacks. The resources you'll have access to will enable you to build the kind of abundant life that your family member tried to steal from you, but the most profound revelation is still coming. The reason this entity targeted your family line specifically isn't just because of your individual gifts, it's because your bloodline carries genetic markers that indicate dormant abilities which only activate under extreme spiritual pressure. Every attack you've survived, every challenge you've overcome, every moment when you had to choose between truth and comfort has been awakening supernatural capabilities that most people don't even know are possible. The dreams where you've sensed being watched or attacked, those weren't just psychological processing of stress, those were actual battles taking place in dimensions where your consciousness naturally operates. The inexplicable knowledge you sometimes have about people's true intentions, that's not just good intuition, that's a form of psychic scanning that your traumatic experiences have forced to develop. The way certain people seem to become confused or agitated in your presence when they have bad intentions, That's your energy field automatically defending itself by disrupting hostile frequencies. Probably, your family member's operation was never really about stealing money. It was about preventing you from discovering what you're truly capable of. Every binding ritual was designed to keep those abilities dormant. Every financial attack was meant to keep you too stressed and distracted to focus on spiritual development. Every relationship they sabotaged was intended to prevent you from finding partners who could recognize and support your true nature. The entity behind this operation understands that chosen ones operating at full capacity pose an existential threat to supernatural predators everywhere. A fully awakened chosen one can not only protect themselves from spiritual attacks, but can also trace those attacks back to their source and neutralize the entities responsible. The network of spiritual predators that has been operating in secret for centuries depends on keeping chosen ones scattered, isolated, and unaware of their true capabilities, but their plan has catastrophically backfired, because instead of keeping you weak, their attacks have made you stronger. Instead of keeping you isolated, their operations have attracted the attention of other awakened individuals who are now positioning themselves to support your development. Instead of keeping you unaware, their obvious manipulations have forced you to develop levels of discernment that make you nearly impossible to deceive. The protector who's been protecting you represents part of a much larger network of awakened individuals who have been waiting for someone with your specific qualifications to emerge. The federal task force that's been building this case represents the intersection of conventional law enforcement with metaphysical understanding. The sovereign who chose truth over comfort represents the kind of authentic partnership that becomes possible when someone's character gets tested under extreme circumstances. When this current drama concludes with arrests and asset recovery, when your stolen property gets returned and your financial security gets restored, when your family member and the conflicted shadow begin serving their federal prison sentences, you'll be invited into a reality that operates according to completely different rules than the one you've been living in. The house that gets returned to you will become the headquarters for operations that help other chosen ones escape similar traps. The money that gets restored will provide the foundation for building enterprises that operate according to spiritual principles rather than predatory ones. The relationships that form with the sovereign and protector will demonstrate what becomes possible when people with complementary gifts work together toward aligned purposes. But the most satisfying element of this entire resolution is how perfectly it demonstrates the principle that energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. Every attack your family member launched against you has been converted into spiritual strength. Every dollar they stole has been accumulating cosmic interest that will return to you multiplied. Every relationship they sabotaged has cleared space for connections that can support who you're becoming rather than who you used to be. The entity that thought it was feeding off your energy has actually been nourishing your spiritual immune system. The criminal network that thought it was isolating you has actually been drawing you into contact with exactly the right people at exactly the right time. The operation that was designed to keep you small and confused has instead prepared you to play a major role in dismantling the entire system of supernatural exploitation that has been operating in secret for far too long. But this story isn't really about them. This story is about you discovering that you possess spiritual firepower they never even suspected. Every attack they launched against you failed not because you were lucky, but because you're operating under protection they couldn't comprehend. Every spell they cast bounced back to them with interest, because your energy field has been upgraded beyond their ability to penetrate. The house that's about to be returned to you represents far more than recovered property. It symbolizes your rightful place in the cosmic order, being officially recognized and legally protected. The money that's being transferred back to your accounts represents abundance that was always yours by divine right, temporarily misplaced but never truly lost. The removal of these criminal influences from your life represents the clearing of energetic obstacles that have been blocking your full manifestation abilities. When federal agents knock on your family member's door with those handcuffs, when the conflicted shadow realizes that their greed has cost them everything including their freedom, when the sovereign's testimony seals their fate permanently, remember this moment of absolute vindication. Remember how it feels to watch divine timing unfold with mathematical precision. Remember the profound satisfaction of seeing cosmic law enforcement in action. But most importantly, remember that this entire experience has been your spiritual boot camp for operating at levels of abundance and protection that require proven strength to handle responsibly. The attacks you survived have made you immune to future manipulation. The deception you recognized has sharpened your discernment to supernatural levels. The isolation you endured while building your case has prepared you for the kind of influence that requires absolute independence. The chosen one who emerges from this cosmic drama bears little resemblance to the person who first suspected something was wrong. You've evolved from someone who questioned their instincts to someone who trusts their inner knowing completely. You've transformed from someone who could be energetically drained by family drama to someone whose spiritual field is so strong it automatically neutralizes negative influences. As the handcuffs click shut and the prison doors close, as property gets returned and bank accounts get restored, as the sovereign and protector position themselves to support your next phase of development, you're stepping into a reality where your spiritual gifts are legally protected, financially supported, and romantically celebrated. The house is yours, the money is returned, the enemies are neutralized, and your true allies are revealed. Justice has been served with cosmic precision, and your path forward is gloriously clear. The universe has spoken through federal law enforcement, and its message is unmistakable. Mess with a chosen one, and face the consequences of universal law. Welcome to your vindication era, where every attack becomes evidence, every enemy becomes a federal case, and every obstacle becomes a stepping stone to levels of abundance they tried to steal but only succeeded in multiplying. The handcuffs were always meant for them, chosen one. You were always meant to be free.